And then not long into me sharing, I hear from the stage, okay, it's about time to start wrapping this up, and we're wrapping the workshop up. What? How can that be? I just started. This isn't fair. This is the worst workshop ever. How can I be with this woman? She doesn't get me. Then I just needed to be still and recognize, Carl, there's something else going on here other than household chores.
I'm so glad you joined us today. That makes you a part of CSLDallas, and we love that our community continues to grow. And we also love to give great spiritual content. And a way that you can participate in our community is financially give to it. It's easy to do so. Go to CSLDallas.org and hit the give button. Or you can set up a text giving mechanism at 972-954-4404, a safe and secure way to send us money whenever you watch a great message like this. So thanks for giving, and buckle up, because here comes the spiritual content.
Wonderful to be here today.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is. So I'm going to share a journey. 25 years ago, I had a calling. And it wasn't in a church, it wasn't in a temple, and it wasn't in a mosque. It wasn't with a transformational leader or a guru, and it wasn't sitting cross-legged under the most powerful energy vortex in Studna. It was in a hot tub with a rock star. I had just finished a photo session with Kenny Loggins, and while sipping a glass of wine, brilliance struck. Kenny thought it would be a great idea to document the intimate devotional love that he shared with his wife in photographs. And then he suggested that I create a book of photographs documenting various couples that really showed their intimate devotional love. Well, I might have looked cool on the outside, but on the inside I was thinking, holy shift. And the shifts were about to happen. So, needless to say, I told him I needed to sleep on it. And that's what I did. And I didn't get a lot of sleep that night. But the truth is that I awakened the next morning with a clear yes. I caught the vision, and I knew that I could really step into it and really do it honor and do it justice. So I started moving forward, and it wasn't long before I recognized that the book needed more than photographs. It also needed in-depth interviews with each couple to give it greater dimension. And that was really the birth of Evolution of Loving. And it also began my own personal journey into opening to manifesting a conscious partnership in my life. So today, I'm going to share some insights with you that I learned on this most unique journey, and that could support you in opening to a deeper love, perhaps, that you most deeply desire. And that can be love toward self, it could be love toward an intimate partner, any forms of love. But first, I really want to give a thanks, deep thanks, to Dr. Petra and Reverend Karen for inviting me here today. I know that it takes a lot of trust on ministers' parts to invite someone to do the talk and to be on the pulpit, and also to trust the integrity of this project, right? Because it's an intimate, beautiful project, and they laid that trust in me and in the integrity of this book. So I thank you both. And I also just wish to thank everyone that put on this the service today, the facilities team, the music team, AV, all the volunteers, everybody. Just big, big thanks for supporting me and being here today. So let's go back to 1993, right? That's when it began. Now, where was I to start, right? I mean, this is such a unique thing. So I knew that diversity was essential. So I started putting the word out. I was like the town crier. Now, I'm looking for a couple that have been together almost their whole lifetime. Now, I'm looking for a pregnant couple. Now, I'm looking for a female same-sex couple. And all along the way, it was essential that all of these couples, what they all share was this deep devotional love for each other. And that was absolutely essential. So I bought this blank book at a local art supply store. This is actually it. And as I started photographing, this is before I had a computer, I literally was cutting and pasting the couple's pictures and text into this book as I went along. And I was sharing it with me everywhere I went. I shared it with friends. I shared it with family. I shared it with music executives. I shared it in airplanes and subways. I shared it in automobiles and trains. And all along the way, the perfect people showed up and gave me the perfect referrals. And I watched this book open so many hearts, so I knew that there was something very powerful about it. And I don't think I fully realized at the time just the level of synchronicity that was really at play, because I believe that synchronicity is always at play, and it's whether or not we open to it. So clearly, even though I wasn't fully aware, I was open to it, because everything, everything was supporting, the truth of this project. And who would have known that it would take me on this unique 25-year journey? So the book has 8 chapters to it. And today I'm going to discuss, and we'll go through 3 of those themes that are the chapter titles. But first, I want to share a personal story. So I began this, as I said, 25 years ago. And let's just say that up to that point, I didn't have the greatest track record with long-term relationships. So witnessing each of these couples being so loving and intimate and open with each other and with me, and watching how they practiced conscious loving with each other, how they would be willing to go deeper in telling the truth with each other, in anchoring in trust, in talking, sharing with each other about things that could be scary. I mean, it really opened me up to a greater field of possibility of what a conscious, evolving partnership could be. And it was only a couple years into working on this that I met my wife, Cynthia. And I'm absolutely convinced that it's because I was in this field, this larger field of possibility that they provided for me, that I was open to a greater level of relationship, a greater depth of what conscious partnership could be. So it really opened me up to allowing in this powerful woman. Anyone that knows Cynthia or knows of her knows she's a powerhouse. And so I was open to embracing this, which I definitely would not have been before that. So I want to ask all of you today, I'm just curious, anyone here maybe been looking for, yearning for a conscious partnership in their life? Raise your hands. Anyone? All right, how about for more than a year? Do we hear more than a year? Okay, all right, we got a bunch more. How about more than 5 years? 5 years? Okay, there's some 5 years. All right, I'm being playful here, but it's really, just to point out that there are so many people on this planet that are alone or feel isolated and don't really have the tools or really the know-how on how to bring in that level of conscious partnership. So today, let's start and look at theme 1, right? So relationships are always a mirror, whether we like it or not. That's the good news and the bad news. They're just going to reflect back to us our consciousness. Sometimes that's not so fun. And the truth is that it takes both people in a relationship that are being willing to open and really go deep. Now, you can try it just with one, but personally I don't feel like it's going to really be able to evolve into a deep, connected relationship if it's just the one. So both people have to be mutually on board and have that willingness. Then that trust is an inside job, right? It's an inside job. We can't be waiting for our partner over here to exhibit trust and so that we feel safe enough to open. We need to be the one that is willing to be anchored so deeply in trust, to do our own inner work, so we are the trust, so that we can be open and be the fullness of who we are in that trust and reflect that back in our partner and in everyone that we're around. And lastly, wherever you go, there you are. Now, how simple yet how profound. I don't know about any of you, but years ago, when I was dating, I might end a relationship, then I go into a new relationship, and it was the funniest thing how the same problems, the same issues kept coming up. It's like, what's the common denominator here? Right. So it's an inside job. We need to be the ones to really address and do our own house cleaning and bring that consciousness within ourselves so that we can mirror that with our partner or with someone that we wish to bring in, right? And a beautiful couple that talk about this subject are Ron and Priska. Now, I met Ron and Priska about 4 years into their relationship. And the first day that I got together with them, it was so magical. We took these underwater pictures that I had never done anything like that. And it was totally spirit at play because the pictures, I looked at them and went, wow, these are beyond me. And then in the first interview that they write for me, they talk about how they first met and fell in love. And it was one of these storybook kind of tales where Priska was visiting from Germany. She didn't know any English. She opens the door to her friend's place. Her friend was setting her up with Ron. And they talk about how when they first looked at each other, looked in their eyes, they recognized each other as soulmates, right? And then they literally were together from that point forward. You know? So everything was in that la-di-da stage for a while, you know, the honeymoon stage, and everything was just great. And then gradually, they both noticed that they started shutting down in certain ways. Ron writes in the book about how he started to observe that he had certain issues, certain things that he felt shameful about, that he felt he was afraid to share with her for the fear that maybe she would have less respect for him, maybe she'd even leave him. Right? And then something happened that I really wouldn't wish on anybody. They're walking across a crowded crosswalk, and they get hit by this car fairly hard, and they go tumbling over the windshield. And they're virtually stuck with each other on two adjacent couches in their living room for several months while they heal. They can't go anywhere, right? And so you can imagine in that kind of situation, one of two things can happen. When they're healed, they could either look at each other and go, I'm out of here, you know, or, which they did, they chose to gradually go deeper. They chose to learn how to share things that they were afraid to share. They chose to deepen in how they could deepen in their trust by learning how to communicate responsibly with each other, learn how to fully listen to each other in responsible ways, and this helped to build a whole template for their future relationship. And I had the honor of documenting various stages of their relationship, ranging from Priska's pregnancy to the birth of their child, Cambria. She was 1 hour old here. She's an hour old. Look at that consciousness. Yeah. And then, a couple months ago, I was in Los Angeles, and I saw them for the first time in 18 years. And it was so beautiful and so surreal. It's like, who is this middle-aged couple now? You know, it's like, time went by, and it was so beautiful to witness. I could see, as they were sharing with me about the raising of Cambria and their life, I could see how they really had incorporated these tools and these practices into their evolving relationship. So I just hold such a beautiful place in my heart for them. Let's look at theme number 2, loving beyond labels, right? How often do we have labels that we either put on ourselves or we put on a partner or anyone, right? And oftentimes, those labels can be things that we're born into. Our culture and our society has certain labels, especially if you look at pertaining to the masculine and feminine roles. That's a huge example with all these labels. And what's necessary to recognize about love and labels is that love knows nothing about confining labels. Love is pure. Love is about oneness. Love is about unity and honoring and inclusivity. And then love is honoring your partner's perspective, even when it's different than yours. And sometimes that's not easy, right? Especially if you're in an argument, disagreement, especially if it's a heated one. How easy is it to really sit there and listen to your partner's perspective? Because I don't know about you, but I've been known in the past to be sitting there thinking about what I need to say next when she's talking. It's like wanting to, how often do we feel like we need to defend ourselves? And because we want to be heard. We want people to really hear what we have to say. But what the opportunity is to, in a growing conscious partnership, is to learn how to sit down, make an agreement to sit down and fully give one person the time to fully share what it is that their perspective is and what they need to say. And the other just listening until they're done and then trading off, so that you can really take the time and get glimpses, at least, of really like the wisdom of their perspective. Imagine that. So when you think about it, this is something that came to me when I was coming up with this talk. When you think about it, why wouldn't your partner's or anyone else's perspective be just as wise as yours, just as perceptive, right? So it kind of makes you go, So that's the opportunity. And also in the face of pure love, that there's no division. Again, love is only about inclusion. It doesn't know about having different opinions, rights or wrongs. It's all about this. And a beautiful couple that discuss about labels are Sunshine and Sunny. Now, I've known them for many years through Centers for Spiritual Living. And when the time came that I was looking for a female same-sex couple, they're the first couple that I thought of. And I was so grateful that they said yes. Because from the moment that I walked into their house, I could feel the energy of love, of just respect for each other and honoring. And Sunny shared a poignant story while I was there. She talked about how before she got together with Sunshine, her previous relationship was with a man. And then that ended, and then she met Sunshine, and she fell in love with Sunshine. And her point was that she didn't make any labels, she didn't put any labels on the sexuality. Her point was she loves who she loves. So even when it comes to, because I was asking, well, how shall I label? I didn't use the word label, but how shall I term you both? She said, well, I don't like to be labeled as any form of sexual preference. I just love who I love. So she doesn't label herself as a lesbian, as bisexual, as anything. She's just a human being. And she loves who she loves, and she falls in love with who she falls in love with. So I just thought that was beautiful, and I definitely see that our world is evolving more, in that direction. And you want to know about labels? I'll share a little personal thing about labels. So when Cynthia and I got together, we come from very different cultural backgrounds, right? So she's black, I'm white. I grew up in the late 60s, embracing free love and the hippie movement. She knew nothing about free love. She was about black power. Right? I was into rock. She was into Motown. There were all these differences of opinion or cultural differences, and we needed to really address those. And we still do at times. There's still things that come up, and we have to look at them and go, okay, is this label coherent, cohesive with my values, right? And if not, shine the light of truth, the light of love on it, let it go so that it doesn't cause any form of division, right? So let's look at the third theme, which is opening to the present moment. Now, I'm sure that all of us have had at least moments in our lives, whether in meditation or maybe in nature or somewhere, where we've been open and just embracing the present moment, where we're not thinking about how the past defines us or worried about the future, and we're just right there. We're present and right there. So imagine that being one of the visions in a intimate, growing, evolving love, is learning how to be more in the present moment with each other, because when we're in the present moment, what happens? We feel lighter, where everything is just actually honoring what is so right now. So how do we get there? Well, going back to what I was saying before, imagine this. What a concept. In a conscious partnership, choosing, say you've got a disagreement with each other, and I'll call it a withheld communication, something you've been withholding from your partner that you haven't communicated that's really on your mind. Imagine thinking of that as a game. It's like, right, that's a stretch. Usually we're thinking, God, I hate the thought of having to share this. But imagine mutually, okay, this is a game. So as soon as we're able to catch it, whatever we're holding on to, getting together with your partner, making a game of it, and sharing and honoring, taking turns and really honoring, listening, responsible communication and listening fully and going back and forth until it's diffused. And what happens when you do that? Well, then you start to lighten more, because the more that we let go of what we're holding on to, because it's like a dense energy. If we're holding on to anything with our partner or with anyone in our lives, it's dense and it weighs us down. So the more that we're able to release it and let it and diffuse it, we lighten up, and then we can be more in the present moment. Our frequency gets higher. And then we can show up with our partner and be more playful and be more loving and joyful. And isn't that largely what it's about? So one of the couples that really talks about this are Rick and Susan. And I met them on the beautiful island of Maui. We met on this beautiful secluded cove. And the trade winds were blowing. It was really warm. And I got these gorgeous shots of them embracing. And then in their first interview, they shared that one of the most important things in their life was to really pay attention to these withholds. And because it was in the forefront of their mind, they'd recognize them when they're coming up, and they'd say to the other, okay, I've got a withhold, later today or tonight, let's get together. They'd create the safe space for the full listening and the full receiving, going back and forth till it's diffused. And they claim that that was the biggest thing for them and tool for them to be able to really be open and joyful and playful with each other. And they were the real deal. I mean, I spent the day with them, and they were one of the most joyful, light, playful couples that I've ever been with. So it really, really worked. And I have a personal story along the lines of withholds. So about 4 years into my relationship with Cynthia, and it was a few months before we're getting married, we decided we would do this relationship workshop to strengthen our tools for marriage. Good idea, right? So yeah, you know what's coming. So the last day of the workshop and the last process of the day, they give us this purple velvet heart. And the one that's holding the heart gets to be the one that goes first and communicate a withhold they have with their partner. So Cynthia's got the heart, and she starts sharing with me something that she was upset about. She felt like I wasn't keeping my word with certain household chores. Right? Now that seems pretty mundane, household chores. Not for me. I'm sitting there, and I'm shrinking in my chair, and she's going on. She's just telling me this stuff, and I'm feeling like, when is she going to stop? She doesn't understand me. She doesn't get me. I hate this. This is the worst workshop ever, and she keeps going. When am I going to get the heart? Finally, she gives me the heart. She gives me it, and it's my turn, and I get to be able to defend myself or explain my position, and I start to share with her. And then not long into me sharing, I hear from the stage, okay, it's about time to start wrapping this up, and we're wrapping the workshop up. What? How can that be? I just started. This isn't fair. This is the worst workshop ever. How can I be with this woman? She doesn't get me. Then I just needed to be still and recognize, Carl, there's something else going on here other than household chores. Right? So I knew I was wise enough to be able to take what was coming up, all the feelings, and use the tools and the wisdom that I had, and I brought it home, and I trusted enough to put the light of awareness that I had onto this core wound, clearly, that was coming up. And the more that I did that, I could feel it lessening and lightening, and I could see a greater perspective, and then I was able to come back to her that evening and really be present and have an adult conversation where we could really work it out and diffuse it. And so I used that as an example for the future. It actually was so painful at the time, but it was such a brilliant thing to learn before we were married as a tool for me to use. So I want to conclude with a closed eyes process along these same lines, all right? So if everybody will take everything off your laps and uncross your arms and legs and just close your eyes. Okay. Allow your eyes to close. All right, and just get in touch with your breath. Great. Now I'd like for you to think of someone that you have a withhold with, that you've been holding on to a communication withhold with. right? Now feel the energy in your body. How are you feeling? Perhaps sad, maybe resentful, or closed? Now bring the light of love to those feelings and imagine your inner child being bathed in this radiant warmth of love. Now feel love's support through every cell of your being. And from your heart, what is it that you want this person to know? Imagine fully sharing with them all that you've been holding inside in a way that's free from blame and simply sharing your truth. Imagine being fully heard and honored by this person. Okay? And now, switching and fully listening and honoring their feelings and their perspective. Now feel a lightness growing within you. Okay? A trust that you're worthy, that you're whole, that you're free of concern that has weighed you down. And when you look into the eyes of this person, all that you see and feel is pure honor, love, and respect emanating from both of you. All that you feel is the light, grace, and goodness of love of the divine. Know that a healing is taking place here and that you are free, light, and at peace now. And we just rest in this light of love, knowing that the grace of the divine is always at our back, always infusing the perfect love and wisdom and goodness throughout every moment, every thought, every word, every breath, as we just rest in this field of love, field of awareness that heals our heart from moment to moment to moment. And all that we see, all that we feel is the unity, is the breath, is the wisdom, is the light reflecting the light. And we allow it to have its way with the greatest of love and glory and all the goodness in the world. And it is blessed, we are blessed, right here and now. And saying, so it is.
I know what it's like to love my spirit, to dance in the light of my truth. I know what it's like to love my spirit, to have my heart open to share with you. I've had some trouble, I've had some pain. This heart of mine has been around through good times and bad, through sunshine or rain. There's one thing that I've always found: under the tears, under the smiles, under the laughter and pain, there's something so pure, so sweet and so true. And I know it won't ever change. I know what it's like I've been there too. You may feel alone with no one to call. I want you to know I'm here for you. Oh, under your tears, under your smiles, under your laughter and pain. There's something so pure, so sweet and so true, and I know it won't ever change. I'm not here to save you, or take away your pain. I'm just here to show you the truth and teach you to say, I wanna hear you say, I wanna hear you say. I know what it's like to